In this video, I'm going to show how you can use UrbanCode deploy and the Docker plugins to deploy a hybrid application into the cloud on IBM Container Services on Bluemix and locally into Docker. So to start some setup here, I have already installed the Docker plugins, which is here under Automation Plugins, the Docker and ICS plugin. And under Source Configuration Plugins, we have Docker ICS Importer and Docker Importer. So I've also already created an application, but I don't have any components yet into it. So from the plugins, I have 3 new templates: Hybrid from ICS, Hybrid from Docker, and Docker. I'm going to be using the Hybrid from ICS. So create a component, to give it the name of my app with my namespace, and then using the template Hybrid from ICS Registry. Now I've also already filled out all of these values in the settings, system settings, under properties, so that makes it very easy for me to reuse them. Okay, so I'll just save this, and notice the Docker location here is based off of the component name, which is why I chose that. Actually, yeah, that's so far so good. So here's my component I just made. You can take a look at the processes we have available via the template. And what I'm going to be working with is the run on ICS with dynamic IP bind, and the run on Docker, which can be through either of those two. And just to give you an idea of how it works, it switches based on the resource type, and either runs on ICS or pulls and runs on Docker. So into my application, I'm going to create an environment. We'll call this On-Prem. And here, we'll add this resource. And also in my application, I'm going to add a new component I just made. So here I can add the component. With this component, we have some configuration defined on the environment here under environment properties. There is the ICS space / development space, what have you. So if you have more than one defined, that is the default. That'll set up otherwise. And then the resource type. First, I'm going to run this on Docker. Oh, also, if I'm running it on Docker, there's Docker environment run options. My application exposes port 8080, so I'm going to set that up here. Properties are saved. So now I should be able to run this by going to my components, do a run process, choose On-Prem. There's my resource. I'm going to run on Docker. Oh, I don't have version set up. So quickly I'll go into my component, versions, and import new versions. This is going to use the plugin to go against the ICS registry and get the list of versions. You can see here the output of it. It's going to take just a minute or so. So it's going to authenticate in, and then it should give me the list of applications. There we go. Okay, so login successful, and here's the list of images I have on my in my ICS registry. And then here you can see it's adding the component versions then from that list. So if I refresh here, we'll have my list of components. So going back over here to the application, components, I can run the process now. I'd like it on-prem. I'm going to do run on Docker. Oh, pull and run on Docker, actually. I'd like to run version 20, since that was the latest version on my list. So now it brings me into execution here. It will log me into ICS, into Bluemix. Then it's going to switch off the resource type, and it's going to then do the Docker pull and run. So if any of these, you can check the progress. So you can see the login command it passes. Your password's hidden. Okay, so I logged this in. Succeeded there. It switched on the resource type. And now it's doing did the pull image array. It's stopping any previous I have running. It's removing any previous containers I have running for this image. And then it'll call the run command. And notice how it passed in that port A80 command item I added there. So everything succeeded and it passed. Now to do this instead against ICS into the cloud, what I can do is in my application just create a new environment, IBM Container Service Cloud, I'll call it. Since it's the cloud, I'll make it nice and blue sky color. Add the same resources to it. In the configuration, we have these. So now I'm planning on running an ICS, so I still want my port set up. And this is set to ICS now. Then we come to the application, components, run process, application. I'd like to run dynamic IP bind on ICS. So that's the thing I'll use. And we'll call it version 20 again. So it's going to run through similar steps. It's going to log into ICS. Then it's going to switch on the resource type. And because of that switch, it'll run ICS run and ICS bind IP. And as it's going, you can check the log, see, make sure it's logging in with the right information. Now it's in the ICS run. So here it failed on the stop command, which is expected because if you click here, there was no such container, so I don't have a previous one running. so it won't be able to stop it, which is perfectly fine. Same with the remove. But now it's going to come down here into the run command. And you can see it passes my port again that I set in the environment properties. And next I see it, there's the container ID. And then here you can see it's doing a bind. So the IP bind here is going to go through list and then bind one to my application, or my container I should say. So it's successfully bound and it finished and everything succeeded. And now, just to do the last step here, I should be able to go to this page, and remember it's on port A80. So hopefully it'll be able to connect to my container. Might take a moment for the container to get up and running. There it is, and my simple application just returns hello world. So that was a real easy way to get something up and running locally and on ICS. And obviously with UrbanCode deployed, there's a lot more you can do in the deployment process once you have this simple step working. Lots of great stuff. One more thing I want to show is that you can also use UrbanCode deploy to send things to a Docker Hub Enterprise registry. So you can add your images into your own behind the firewall registry and use that as a place to deploy from or to. So we're going to work on the same component here, and what we're going to do is we're going to set it up to take it from ICS into the Docker Hub Enterprise. So same application, and I'll call this Docker Hub Enterprise, and just kind of exciting, so we're going to do, well, kind of maybe an orange color. Okay, in this environment, we again just add the application, and then the configuration. We're not going to do any running, so I don't need run options. But instead of going from Docker or ICS, we're going to a Docker registry. So there, and then we'll need to define the target Docker registry here, because it says here it's required for push to Docker registry process. So this is my our local Docker Hub Enterprise registry. It's running behind our firewall, so it's nice and secure place for images. So here we're going back then to our application, looking at our components. Go run a process off of this. Go choose the Docker Hub Enterprise environment. We're choosing the push to Docker registry, and we'll select version 20. And here it's going to go through the running. Now what's nice about this setup is that you can use this as a way to sanitize and control images that your organization has access to. You can build them using Bluemix and using hub.jazz.net, and you can put them into ICS, and when they pass your test you can put them into your personal Docker Hub Enterprise registry, and lots of things you can control that way. Here with this resource type, it's switching to make sure you have it set to registry. It's just kind of a check to make sure on a lot of these processes that you have something legal down here. Oh, we've had a fail on the Docker tag image. So let's see what happened with this. I think it might have been that the image already exists. Yeah, so I've already tagged this image as 20, and so it already existed. So, but then was able to successfully push the image and set the component property. So if I had already tagged that image locally, it would have been fine. But here you can see the push image, pushing it against Lean Jazz, so that's my registry. And there you have it. So the Docker plugins here, Docker and ICS plugins, give you lots of options for controlling your images and even your containers, running and deploying them using IBM UrbanCode Deploy. Thank you for watching.